So I've prepared my Weber grill, ready to do a brisket, and I'm using the minion method. The brisket that I've got is 5.5 kilos, which is about 12 pounds, just under 12 pounds. I've done my briquettes 12 high, and I've just put a row of hickory chips or hickory wood along the top, so that as the minion method burns around, they will smoke up hopefully for me. I've got this large oval foil tray that I've sort of cut the edge off so it sits closer to the rim of the barbecue here. Cut the edge off, and this is where I'll put my starter beads over here, just in that pocket there, and let the minion method burn right around. So I'm looking for this to give me hopefully around a 10-hour cook, which is what I'm expecting my brisket to take. Take that off and let it rest for a couple of hours for a total of a 12-hour cook, and we'll see how it goes. Here is my 5.5 kilo brisket.
And then it loses about half a kilo. Yeah. What? Sure. Why?
Well, people, it is 5:30 a.m. in the morning in Sydney, Australia, and I've gotten up very early because I'm intending on smoking this 5.5 kilo, which is about 13 pound brisket that for some crazy reason I decided to buy yesterday and try. So I've got my brisket there, which I've trimmed up a little bit, but left most of the fat cap on the top, and I'm going to apply just a straight salt and pepper rub. It's just got a teaspoon or two of garlic powder and onion powder in there as well, but it's mainly just rock salt and black pepper, which I put in the mortar and pestle and crushed up together. And over here I have my Weber, which I will light up shortly, which I pre-prepared yesterday. Don't know how much you can see it, but this grate's going to come out anyway for a moment for lighting. Put the grate down, and I prepared yesterday in a snake method with some hickory wood on top. So that's ready to go with my drip pan. Now I'm just boiling water. I'm going to put hot water in the drip pan there. So I'm hoping that snake method's going to get me through the about 8 to 10 hours I'm anticipating of smoking before I take it off and let it rest for a couple of hours. So I'm going to proceed now to rub my brisket with the salt pepper mix. Then I'm going to let it sit here for about half an hour or so on the rest and come up to room temperature, because it's been in the fridge overnight, until I'm ready to barbecue it. Okay, here she is. She's all smoked and rubbed. Well, not smoked, but rubbed up, salt and pepper and all that sort of stuff. So that process is done. Now we're going to get on to starting our dozen or so heat beads for our snake method barbecuing. Okay, we're getting ourselves some coals started in the chimney there. I just got some paper underneath it from the charcoal bag which was finished that I used. Get that going, and then we'll put that in the Weber. Okay, so there's my first dozen or so coals, red hot at the beginning of my snake that I've just put on. Just a word of warning, it is now about 6 a.m. in the morning. Not the smartest thing to do to pick these things out with a pair of tongs when you have totally bare feet right next to your barbecue when you're half asleep. You might just drop one, and which I almost did. Thankfully I didn't, but I could have just imagined if I dropped one half asleep and end up on my foot. But now what I'm going to do is I'm going to close the barbie up. I'm going to put the grill on now. I want this thing to get up to about 250 degrees Fahrenheit, so about that 120, 125 Celsius, and get that snake sort of beginning to burn. Then when that's going, I've got an extra piece of my wood, my hickory wood, that I'm going to start right on the end there for the smoking process. So I'm going to get the grill on now, close up the lid and get her up to temp. Okay, it's only been about 3-4 minutes, but she's already coming up to temp. Getting there at about about 180 degrees Fahrenheit, approaching that 100 degrees Celsius mark, and she's climbing. I've also prepared a full kettle of boiling hot water, so that we have a water bath going there in the pan to keep the moisture up, and it helps regulate the temperature, they say. So yeah, got that ready to go in there as well as soon as we go on. But you can see it climbing bit by bit.
minute or two later, and we're now past the 200 degree Fahrenheit, approaching the 220 degree Fahrenheit range. Okay people, so we have now put her on, water bath is in, and we are now officially on, and we are smoking our brisket. See you in hours to come. Okay, so believe it or not, this is only 10 minutes into the smoking, and I've just adjusted the vents right down because I'm getting up there to, well, that's just over 260 degrees Fahrenheit. So I've got the bottom vents all the way open, but the top vents I'm down to a third, and I'm going to try and regulate that down a little bit. It's been like that for a minute or two now and hasn't really started to drop. If anything, it's held steady. So I'm going to watch how they go. Just another little trick I do, I put a big brick on the lid because I do get a little bit of smoke escaping through the sides. If you can see that, I probably need to put a gasket on this barbie. You can just see some smoke from the sides escaping, and that's because I did drop the lid once, so it's a little bit off shape, so it doesn't sit quite 100%, but yeah, the brick sort of helps. But we want to regulate this down, I think, if we can, just a little bit lower than where it is. Sitting at about 260, you probably just got to drag it down just a smidge. Okay, so it's about 8:30 now in the morning, so the meat has been on, the brisket was on for about 2 hours and 15 minutes, it was about 6:15 when it went on. Still got the vents there at about 1/3 open, and still maintaining there at about that, just over the 250 mark. But of course heat rises, so it would probably show higher where the thermostat is, but I'd say down around the meat would probably be just at the 250, 240 or just a bit below mark, so pretty happy with the way that's maintaining. I don't know if you can see it on the video there, but I am getting just a nice clean smoke coming out, which I'm pretty happy with. Okay, we have just gone over the 10 o'clock mark, 10 o'clock in the morning, so this has now been going for 4 hours. I haven't touched it, I haven't lifted the lid. I'm resisting the temptation to look inside. I want to generate that bark and get the outside as good as I can. Now the interesting thing is 4 hours later, and you can see that I'm still holding that temperature there. Now that's saying 260, but once again, like I said earlier, that's at the top of the Weber, and heat does rise. So if it's 260 at the top of the Weber, you got to think down at the grill it's a little bit lower than that. Down at the grill it's got to be probably, I would think, 240, maybe a bit lower. But also I can touch here with my hand, so it can't be overly hot down there. I can't touch the top without burning, so that shows that heat rises. So somewhere at the grill it's got to be lower than that, but 260 is what the thermometer is showing you, 260 Fahrenheit. Okay, I haven't moved the vents there. They're still at about probably just over a third, under a half open, somewhere in that realm. The bottom vents have been totally open the whole time. Sydney weather today, it's slightly overcast, but it's actually warm outside. It's a beautiful day. There is absolutely no breeze. You can see that the trees and that in my backyard are not moving, no breeze at all. Perfectly still day, beautiful conditions for doing this sort of thing. Yeah, so that's at 4 hours. I'm going to keep leaving this on. I really don't want to touch it till 11:30 or 12 o'clock, at which time it's going to have been 5 to 6 hours cook. I just want to leave it and see what it looks like. I'll open it somewhere at that 5.5 to 6 hour mark. I'll take an internal temp, see how it's going, and look at what the colour's looking like. But hopefully by not touching it like this and just leaving it, when I open it, it's going to have an amazing colour and hopefully develop a really solid bark. Okay, just walked outside to check. It's now the 5 hour mark. We're just after 11 o'clock. Look at this gorgeous Sydney summer day. What is it? It's 10th of January, just perfect Sydney summer day. There's not a bit of breeze. A couple of crickets are chirping in the background. It's nice and warm, sunny, really, really nice day. Virtually no breeze, but anyway, it's about the barbecue. We're just on 5 hours in, haven't moved nothing, haven't touched nothing, and we are still at just on that 260 mark up here. So once again, like I said earlier, probably a bit lower down at the grill, probably somewhere around 240 down the grill. I'm dying to get this open and have a look at what it looks like, but I think I'm just going to persevere and leave it 1 more hour. So it's a full 6 hours untouched. The lid has not been touched We have not looked at it, so hopefully when we do, we're getting a good result under there. Plus I think keeping the lid on for 6 hours straight without touching it, you know, it is a 5.5 kilo brisket, 12.5 to 13 pounds, which is quite big, so it's going to need the time. Okay, we have just hit the 6 hour mark. It's now 12:15, so this has been going for 6 hours. We haven't touched it, we haven't opened it, we haven't had a look, so we're now going to have a look together that we've hit 6 hours and see what's happening. Okay, get this brick off. The brick's quite warm. Here we go. For the big reveal. Oh, look at that, the snake is only halfway. And there we are, there's our brisket. Looks like it's cooking good. It's a big piece. It's, even though it's gone a long time, it's shrunk, but it hasn't shrunk a lot. Alright, let's get some temps. I reckon this is going to need a long time still, given how thick it is. Okay, Fahrenheit. About 154 there of the flat. Let's have a look up here. Oh, the juice pours out when I put it in there. 165. No, 155. It's dropping. Through the middle here. See what we get here. There. Around the side. Beautiful colour. Feels a bit more tender there. Feel the heat coming off. $156 there, so we seem to be about 155 after 6 hours. And we're only halfway through our bricks. Okay, we've now reached just over 2 PM. So we have now been going on this brisket 8 hours under the Weber. It is quite a big brisket, so I needed some time. So we're going to have a look, take some temps. I'm going to do it with you. I haven't had a look since the last look at just after 12 o'clock. So we'll get our brick off. And here we go. So look at this together and see what we got. Okay. Visually, what can I tell you? We are probably now just over halfway through our briquettes. So the briquettes in the snake method's really working. The brisket is looking quite good. Let's get this temperature gauge in here and see what it says, eh? Okay. Here we go. Definitely softer than the last time we looked. And right there in the middle, last time we were sort of stalled at about the 155 mark. Look at that. It's nice. I think we might be ready for a wrap. 163 there. We know we need to get over 190. This is the flat here. $165. These are all Fahrenheit, by the way. The reason why I'm measuring Fahrenheit is because all the instructions that I'm making a brisket that come out of the States and all the other YouTube videos I watch on how to do it are all in Fahrenheit, so easier to just stick with it rather than trying to convert it. You can see that this is not sliding in easy, so it will need more time, there's no doubt about it. It needs more time to break down. So we're talking what? Less than 163 there, even though it's facing the fire. You can see the fat melting away and just creating these juices, so it's going to be juicy. That's a nice soft bit in there. And that feels quite soft there too. But so I think we're going to go for a wrap. I'm just going to try like right here. That's all that feels nice and soft in there. That really went easy, but I was probably just in fat, I would say. Hence why it was nice and soft. But it is getting up. Okay, so I think we're going to take this off and give it a wrap and try and get it wrapped now up to about that 190 for the next 2 hours. Given it's 2 o'clock now, we'll try and do a wrap, leave it wrapped for 2 hours and then see if we can get it up to that 190 mark. 195, closer to 200 if possible, and then take it off and let it rest for 2 hours. So 2 more hours cooking wrapped and then 2 more hours of resting. Let's see how we go. Okay, so it's now 4:30. It's been foiled for 2 hours. Just open the foil and slide the thermometer in. It's going in soft, and we're getting 203, 205, 206, so that's about right there. Slice down this way. Thermometer's going in softly. And we're getting over 200 there. It is a very thick piece, so it will need extra temp, I would think. Try this way. Yeah, so 4:30. So 4:30 is 10 hours. We're over 200. Feels soft enough. We'll take it off to it. Okay, so I've just taken it off, and just for future reference, the snake method that I used started here, and we've gone all the way around here in 10 hours. We've still got red hot coals there, and we've still got, I reckon, at least 2 to 3 hours left. So here it is, finished. There's the juice in the foil. Squeeze it here in the decal, you can see the juice popping out of it. Took one slice off the end. Got a smoke ring that's pretty relevant, and it pulls apart nicely, as you can see. Definitely cooked perfect and cuts right. Oh, just push it and the juice just flows out. That's all rendered out. That's pretty good for a first time, I think.